Why wouldn't we say Toikidei Dibur Kedibur Dami? Very simple question. You must have asked it when you learned it. You probably said, don't know. That's too well. What are you going to do now? Here, you're back in London. And do that. What are you going to do? I won't answer on an email. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What is the logical difference in every time with every Toikidei Dibur Kedibur? Well, it's for those who learned the sugya Toikidei Dibur, the question is even stronger. Those who learned Shvur Sa'edus and learned the sugya Toikidei Dibur, this is screaming. But I'm maniach that you don't remember because it was a long time ago. It was a lot of learning. But naniach, okay, think on your own. Okay, make a difference according to what we learned, to what man does with Yakir, and versus what man does. Like, well, the classical reality is Edus, Shvua, Neder. Actually, by Kedushin, there's no din in Toikidei Dibur. By get, there's no din in Toikidei Dibur. Okay, you really want to know. Well, Avelus of Toikidei Dibur. If you create Toikidei Dibur of the death of the person, it also works. So you tore 2 seconds before the man died. It's considered your Yotze Kriya. Are you asking me another question? I understand. Is this going to give an answer, or you just oh well, thanks. And why is it that I don't understand that's Rav Yochanan? Right? That's what you just did to me. Okay, so okay, let's go. You have to remember of it. Shoyl ke'inyan meishiv ka'alacha. Steht dort nepes dort wegen Chachamim mit Goylemim. Okay, first thing at Shoyl ke'inyan. Okay. He means not just be la'inyan. It means la'inyan shemedabrim alav. Okay. What does it mean? What could the difference be? Let's see your creative thinking. Should I answer this? Yeah, you were busy. Read Rashbam on Kuf Chav Zayin. Did you learn Kuf Chav Zayin on the days? Good. Did you learn the Rashis that are like wide on the time, wide Rashis? You have. Did you learn Rashi Divra Masa v'Chazav Amar Avdihu? Yeah. Okay. What does he say? Don't tell him what he says in English. I think I said that. The first one is there? Even though there's two. Chazav Amar Avdihu. Yeah, the first one. Actually, no, there's only one. There's a Chazav Amar Avdi and the Chazav Amar Avdihu. What does he say? Well, Jan, what are you going to say? Does anybody want to offer an answer here? Oh, yeah, no? You smile. No, the smile is also something.
Is there a concept of chazara on something that is not action?
I don't understand the question. If you will explain yourself, you're doing. I don't know. You may be saying the right thing by mistake, so I don't know. I'm not going to see this until you explain what you meant. What action is there here?
Not that he has to say something and his words carry weight. Rather, he called someone of the heart or a son, and therefore, once that happens, he did that. Whatever kind of action to do, but he did that, and he can't be closer from what he did already. No,
explain. You really didn't explain, right? You just moved your hands, and I'm supposed to figure it out according to that. You're right. Because I would just say your words. Action was not really an action, Sedivra, but it's like, and then you went like that. You're saying something intelligent. Can you let it out? Say, what do you say?
The point of this is not deeper per se.
English. Let's do English. It'll be easier that way.
What we care about.
This is Shar Torah, so we'll see the English.
What we care about in this instance is not necessarily his words,
but rather
the fact that he
what?
He labeled this man as his son or as his slave. Once that
What you really are saying is, we don't care what you said, but what you're saying represents a certain situation in a relationship. And that relationship is muhzik as soon as it happens. And once it's muhzik, who says you can change it of muhzakus? That's very nice. Ausgetracht. That's exactly what we say. It's not an idea of speech that you said one word, you're going to track your words. We're not talking about your speech. What you're doing is, remember, it's not a ne'emanus, which with that we're machzik. It would be a ne'emanus, which with that we're machzik, so you can be chayzer on anything which is ne'emanus. First, we have to believe you, accept the credibility of your words. Then, once we believe you, we say the truth, then we're machzik. That's the case. Like any other thing, you can retract the Techere Dibur. I said X, I'm saying Y. What's the problem? That's not the issue. What you're saying is, if we understand it's not in a ne'emanus, which because of the ne'emanus we're machzik. It's a ne'emanus to create chazakas, which really means my relationship with you, the way, which is, how do we know my relationship? Because I express it. But at the end of the day, it's my relationship with you, which defines you as a b'chor. Okay? If I act with you as a b'chor, you're a b'chor. Now, how do I know if you act with me as a b'chor? Because you call me b'chor. You tell me, hey, get his saliva. He's a b'chor, Masir Roika over there. Okay, if it wouldn't have said pchor, if we said masiraika, we would have known it meant pchor. It also would have been good. That's another pashut because you recognize, and it's a question of recognizing as a pchor. Now, what do we understand that means? Your recognition of the child of the pchor is machzikim, just like a situation of people living together for 30 days. So it's not a word of dibur, so it's not a word. It's not even ma'isa. It's not a word chazor. You didn't do anything. It's a situation. Which is a reality. We don't say Techere Dibur dummy, so you don't say that the death is chal only 3 seconds later. He's dead. It's a mitzvah. The Techere Dibur is also by Maisa, not dafka by Dibur. I just told you kriya. You do kriya Techere Dibur before the misa, and then the person at the end of the Techere Dibur, the person dies. You're a kriya. It's called the basachas as far as that's not far chazor, but as far as the basachas that you should know. But what you're saying is true anyway. It's not a question of ma'aser or deep, it's a question of matzah. It's not the ma'aser, it's not the dibur, it's the teitzah. This represents a certain relationship. There's no Techere Dibur in a relationship. There's nothing. You didn't do anything. You just let us know what your relationship is. But it's your relationship which creates the akora, creates the fact that you live with him as a b'chor. That's what you have to say in Rishma. Otherwise, this makes no sense. If this would be a regular din of edus and taka kivashik shuvna chayzer magid with all the shtikl of Torah there, then God's help me. Why can't they be chayzer Techere Dibur? Befrat is not even in Bezdin yet. You know what I mean? There's nothing. Can't be chayzer. Once you said it, that's it. Okay, it's that you can't see because in akora achar akora because Techere Dibur you can chayzer from an akora. So the Agdor is taking it very far. To what extent is this? It's not your words. It's a situation which is expressed through your words. That's what you have to say. So weiter steht in Rashbam. So to Rashbam, because ma'avdi bein Techere Dibur bein la'achik zman, amar kein al oisei sha'amar alav mitchila b'ni. Einei neman, b'mai da'ama hashto avdi. V'lekal mei mahod karle mitchila b'ni, mishum do'aya v'ikibnai, de'ein derech likor la'avdi b'nai. V'hilkach acher taina rishayna neilech. The higher v'zois achroina einoi pirush ki makhasha einoi leilach acher taina achroina why do does pive mina Torah b'mai da'ama b'ni. K'dichsiv Yakir. So before Shida, why is he believed in Bni versus Avdi? Because of Yakir. So it says that the Yakir is Muhammad to say he's Bni. If he was Muzakib B'nai, what's the story? He didn't say that. He says he's believed to say that he's B'nai because of Yakir. It's not the pshat that he's Muzik as B'nai. Is he believed to say Avdi? That's something else. No, we're talking about why is he Muzik to say he's B'nai? Because of Yakir. That's what he says. The Amina Torah of my dama B'ni Kirsiv Yakir, V'kivin Shehigid, he already had the Afchon of Yakir, Shuvah and Chayzer Magid, he can't be Maki, he can't undo his Akara by saying you're an Evid. In other words, what do we see here? Once he's Mugzik, once he has Afchana, the father's no more in the business. He's Mugzik. You have no right to undo that Mugzakas that you. The ultimate Mugzakas, as we described yesterday, it's like Cheskes Aguf. If you remember, I gave that mashal. Look at Kiva Eger, Gir and Ashas. For Reb Kiveger, ayin the second Reb Kiveger, Rashban v'Amasa in a Neman, the Chsiv Yaker, ayin the command of Kuf Lamadal, the Mebed Rashban v'Amasa Yoshay, v'Tzorachiyim. How can it be? How can it be that here you're telling me it's a halach of what that you don't need the Yaakov works, so you don't need him to be, so to speak, Moshe Ka'av, and that's a Mefusha Rashbam that you need Moshe Ka'av, and Yaakov doesn't work if you're not Moshe Ka'av. It's a simple question, okay? What's enough? It's not a machlokes, a sugyus. What is this? Say it again. Avdi means he's not b'ni. That's what the Gemara says. I don't understand what you want. If he's b'ni, you're not avdi. If you say, how's he a slave? He's an Aviknani. He was a boy of Goya. So weiter b'noi. That's what the Gemara said. The Gemara doesn't even make that as a tzad. If that's the case, if we're true, you could call him avdi and b'ni. If that's true, this is the greatest as master. He is avdi and his b'ni. What's the problem? That doesn't work, my friend. Right? That tak is a good as master. Too schnell. Don't do it too fast. Okay. Nice. Again, nice, but too fast. You have to slow down. Okay. That won't work in the Gemara. Then this is the ultimate amasla. What do you mean? It is avdi and his b'ni. Gendik. Okay, so that's not it. Okay, so then what is it? Here the alternative is either avdi or b'noi. Okay, what do you want to say? The only reason you call him avdi because mishamshik avdi, but it's not right to call avdi b'noi because I like him like a son. That's what the Gemara says. Okay, so if that's the case, the Mefurish, Reb Kiveger asked the question, says Tzorachin l'maisa the Rashba and the Ran in over there in Kuf Lamed, Taka bring this Gemara as a raya that you don't need music, and they're chaylik on Rashba. Of course, we have to say one thing. I just want to point this out because it seems to be a davar pasha. Let's remember, how did we explain yesterday? According to the nafkamina and nafkamina la'alacha between according to Rashbam's understanding of the machlekes of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan. The machlekes was, if you recall, Rashbam believes that Yakirena Lachem is only Rabbi Yehuda Omar. That's what we learned. Rabbi Yehuda Omar. That's what Rashbam writes in Kuf Chav Zayin Amud Beis. As opposed to Rabbanan, Rabbanan don't agree with that. Rabbanan don't think that Yakirenu La'acherim is true. And therefore, what was it? Number one, where did Rashbam get this from? Because that's the stomach of the lashon of the Gemara. I heard the Sifri doesn't say it that way. The Sifri brings Yakirenu La'acherim, and then says Rabbi Yehuda Omer and Rabbanan Omer. It doesn't say Mikan Omer Rabbi Yehuda. Okay. There's a difference. We have the word Mikan Omer Rabbi Yehuda. From this word did Rabbi Yehuda come out. Sifri doesn't have that girsa. The Bavli has that girsa in the Bavli. It's interesting that the Gra there seems to see the girsa Bavli as the Pashat, the Pshat, therefore he's Magia in the Sifri. You probably saw it all by now. But the truth of the matter is that Rashi does the opposite. Rashi Davka, based on the Sifri, understands that that's Pshat in the Gemara, and he's oblivious to the word Mikan. Where's this Rashi? Bivamis Mem Zayin Amud Aleph. Bivamis Mem Zayin Amud Aleph. These are all the places where the Bryce is bought. If you probably did this study to check where the Bryce is bought, in which context, and you would have, right? You do the Chumash, you do the Bryces, then you learn where the Bryces are bought, and then you look at the Gemaras. If you did this orderly, so you know this Rashi, so I'm not telling you any news. And if you don't know this Rashi, it means you didn't do it orderly. So, you know, there might have a mixas, is chayiv shvua. Right, Zot Rashi. Siyaki yakirenu la'acherim. So what is Rashi? How does it mean according to Rabbi Yehuda? What does it mean? Yakirenu la'acherim. It's not just makir oisai. It was in his private relationship of Yerush and Moirish. It's not just a subjective relationship between me as the bequeather of my money and you as the recipient. Rather, it's la'acherim, it's objective. It's an objective reality between me as a father, this is a child. That's how we explained it, if you recall, because that was the next Rashbam that says, and therefore, There's a svara. There's no difference. If you're going to believe him for Yerusha, you're going to believe him to say what kind of a father you are. Ben Grusha, Ben Chlutza. What's the svara? Because they're dealing with the same story. We know what happened. Once we know the story that you are the father of this in this fashion, so we know what happened. It's as simple as that. Once we know what happened, so both you get the pure chor. Number two, you're also a Ben Grusha, Ben Chlutza. That's what Rashi. That's basically the svara of B'chain Rashba. That's only Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbanan, no, we don't believe in Yakirenu La'acherim. It's only subjective, and therefore you only have to. We don't know that you're the father. We know that you're the Meirish. What does Rashi say? Rashi says Yakirenu La'acherim she'im ein bezin makirin oisai neman olav aviv lemer zeb nibchor lito pishnayim. What's he quoting? He's quoting the Gemara when the Gemara says the Rabbana Yakir Lamali, the Gemara the Tzarech Ekera. Now there it doesn't say Yakirenu La'acherim Lamali Tzarech Ekera, and Rashi explains that that's the pshat in Yakirenu La'acherim according to Rabbana. That's the lashon of Rashi and Yavamis. Doesn't just say Yakirenu Yakir in this. It means the subject. No, what Bezin has to know, we're going to tell him. No, he's not talking. There doesn't seem to be a machlaikis. He's not saying this goes according to Yehuda. He doesn't say there's a machlaikis what the word means. He thinks Yakirenu La'acherim is b'tzarech hakeri. Yes, when tzarech hakeri, either when there is no muzak or when there is a muzak, that's another question. But Yakirenu means to be makirim in front of Bezdin. Whether that works also against the muzak or only when we need you because there's no other braver, that's another question. But that's what he writes. Look at him, Yakirenu. Aim Bezdin Makir. Bezdin doesn't know. Neman Olav Avilam is Ebeni Little Pishnai. Now here he's saying according to Kula Alma. He's not mentioning it according to Rabbana versus Rabbi Yehuda, or Rabbi Yehuda versus Rabbana. Look at the Rashi and Yavamis. Rashi's now explaining a brisa. You're a child again. That word is not going into a machlik shabudu rabbanon. Maybe you'd look to read the Gemara carefully. Do I need Yakirenu La'acherim according to Yehuda? What happens? He doesn't work without that. What happens if he talks to a Beis Hamekes? It says no Yakir. Yeah, I know what you want. What do we need it for? According to, does he believe the Yakirenu La'acherim goes only according to Yehuda? Is there any logical? How do you understand it possible if according to translation Yakirenu La'acherim? What year wouldn't Rabbanan agree with? Look at that sentence. Tell me what Rabbanan won't agree with. Yeah, look at the sentence of Rashi and tell me which part of it wouldn't Rabbanan agree with. Not implication, words. What words do Rashi say? They don't read more than what's there. All Rashi says, what does Yakirenu La'acherim means? If Bezin doesn't know, you are the one that will inform them. That's all it says. That's true. Doesn't say scope. Doesn't say anything. Doesn't say that comes later in the Gemara. Excuse me. Then the Gemara afterwards says what happens by chazak or not chazak, but that's not in the word Yakirenu La'acherim. It is only Rashbam. Don't be influenced by Rashbam. Rashbam isolates that sentence to Rabbi Yehuda because he obviously has the mikan, and therefore it's very simple. Obviously, this word means this, and that what you're about to say is true. But he doesn't do that. He doesn't say Rabbi Yehuda Amar Lei. He doesn't say it. Look at it. More than that. Go a step further. Okay, this is number one. So that's I don't think. Okay, I'm not a habit of nudging and arguing. I don't think there's anything in Rashi which indicates that he agrees to his grandson. The language doesn't say it.
There's everything that the Raya disagrees, or there's just no Raya either way.
I think that when Rashi bothers to explain and doesn't explicitly say something which has to be said, that means he doesn't think it's true. Rashi's a parshan, who's a kamsim with words, but he's exact. As if Rashi wanted to say that, he would have said that. Adrab, Rashbam, which is a Mara B'Diburim, no big raya if he doesn't say something sometimes. But Rashi, yes, if this is taka only the Rabbanan, the comments of Yehuda, he would have said it. It's another pasha. He explains a language which includes everybody, doesn't infer in any way that Yakirenu La'acherim is different. What you're doing now is you're stuck in the rut because you learned the Sifri and you have a certain year. So what Rashi's doing is the opposite. He's trying to say he knows the Sifri, And instead of doing what the Gra did, of editing the Sifri according to the Bavli, he's explaining the Bavli according to the Sifri. That's what he's doing. It's a double portion. He's saying that the Yakir Lachem is not a bone of contention. That's the Koteret. Yakir means Yakir Lachem. Now, what's the scope? That's the Machlek distributor and Rabbanim. Now we have a new question. Let me finish. I'll show you in a minute what happens with this. Look at another Rashi and you'll understand. Look at Rashi and Kiddushin. Oh, where's Kiddushin? Kiddushin, two Rashis. One is an Ayin Daled, one is Ayin Ches. Once again, where the price is bought. You don't have to be big. This, all you have to do is look at the guy on the side here. They bring it over the prices are. Here he is. So again, it says Yakirenu la'acherim mikan amar Reb Yehuda neman adam leima ukeshem sheneman etc. V'chacham ayim einay neman. Now, what does einay neman mean? So let's look at Rashi there. Rashi writes, "Aben grusha v'chalutza hu depliga." That's all. He doesn't argue also by Yakir by Yerusha against a muvzuk. It's not true. The Bavli doesn't say so. You know, ask the question. The Tosfos Reed has a sefer of chidushim, not the Tosfos. He has a chidush sefer machriya. Did you ever read it? Okay, so a big sefer machriya on this question. Okay, Tosfos Reed also asked the question, but there he's marchim. What's Tutman David? What he's talking about? He's not arguing. It's forget from Gemara. So how are you going to read this Rashi? Now there's another Rashi. Ayin Ches Amid Aleph. Amid Beis, excuse me. Here it says again. Here it says Yaki Yakirenu La'acherim. Amar Abuda Neman Lem Zebni Pchok Shem Sheneman Lem B'chok etc. V'Chachamim Einay Neman. What does Einay Neman mean? Such Rashi. And if you look at Ayin Ches Amid Beis, towards the end of the page on the left column, Einay Neman Apsula Kaima Avale Yan Chor Loy Pliga. I mean, Loy Pliga. The ganze Shtickle Torah and the Gemara that they're arguing Bakum Chazaka. So Rashi learned from about all the obviously we don't have his commentary. Those Prakim, maybe maybe he gave up in the middle of Chesabatim. I don't know. How do you understand this? He doesn't. Tosfos Reed asked the question, not just Tosfos, other Rishonim too. But I mean, I remember him very. He like Kipir Shamari. He like when he says no. He has this way of saying things. Like Kipir Shamari. Okay, so what's Tutmanda? How do you understand this Rashi? Again, let's see what you're going to do. It's very clear that he understands that the machlekes of against chazaka or not against chazaka is not explicit in the Brisa. That's all he's saying. It is implicit. Rashi is explaining the explicit arguments in the Brisa. Oh, it is. He's explained the explicit arguments in the Brisa. Now he therefore takes for granted that this argument in this Kishain is obviously an argument in the quality of what the original Yakirenu La'acherim meant. Everyone agrees Yakirenu La'acherim means to Bezdin. The question is, and that's what's there. He doesn't want to make the Bavi argue with the Sifri. That's what he's doing. I mean, it's so nice to see the opposite of the Gra. The Gra will take out his pen and erase, and he will try to, let's stick the Sifrei in the Yiddish and read the Mikan, not just from the word Yakirenu La'acherim, but from the word Yakir. That's how he understands it. Yakirenu La'acherim is the koteret, is the caption, and Mikan, the Bible is from the din of Yakir, which means Yakirenu La'acherim. Rabbi Yehuda says so and so, and Rabbanan say you're wrong. That's not what Yakirenu La'acherim means. Everyone agrees Yakir means Yakirenu La'acherim means to Bezdin. That's how Rashi explains it. Based on the Sifri, I agree, based on the Sifri. And that's how he reads that. That's how he reads this Gemara. And then he comes and says, so, but yet there's a machlekes. What's the machlekes? The understanding of what is the scope, or it can't be just be the scope, what is the scope, that's what is the essence of Yakirenu La'acherim. What does it mean? It does not mean objective versus subjective in the simple way, the way we understood. Acherim is objective versus Yakir for yourself is subjective. No, it's to Bezdin. Question, what is to Bezdin? Is it to Bezdin an objective reality, or is it a subjective reality? That goof is the shaila. What is the yakir la'acherim? As opposed to Rashbam took for granted the word la'acherim means objective knowledge. He thinks that no, yakir la'acherim means to Bezdin, but Bezdin deals with subjective knowledge. Bezdin deals with objective knowledge. What exactly is the mahus? What is the essence of this yakir la'acherim? Bezdin deals with a dois baldin. Bezdin deals with edis. What does yakir do? Bezdin deals with the kidashti is biti, and there we know it's a machlekes. What exactly is Bezdin? All I know is yakirenu to Bezdin. That's all it says. It means to say it's something we can paskin with. Very nice to know. Okay, now, okay, but there's so many things that Bezdin paskins. Is it like kidashti biti, like Rav, like Ravasi? What's it like? Okay, that was the shaila on the table. Okay, so that's the machlekes of Yudan and Rabbana. Put this on the table. So the Rashi is very simple. Rashi, the explicit machlekes is that chazaka comes out of that. Yes. That same explanation we did according to Rashbam, Rashi agrees to that in principle. That is the same machlekes of Yudah Rabbana. The machlekes is only what is the translation of the word yakarna la'acherim. Machlekes is, do we walk away from the Sifri and we do what the Gra did, or we decide to put the Sifri into the Bavli and work with this? That's the shaila on the table. That's the Chor Poshet, okay? That's why Rashi bothers to say that only the Braysh is not talking about the Chazaka. How do we know there's a Machlekes in the Chazaka? Because we know there's a Machlekes, explicit Machlekes about Begushim and Klutza, the Nafkaminev, where this would be for Chazaka against Muchzik and not against Muchzik. That's what it boils down to be. If I understand that you're Neman on the Ben Gushim and Klutza, because you believe to Machzik, the Metzias, as we discussed, not just the Din. The Metzias. Well, if that's the case, once the Metzias is Mavurus, okay, so what did the Torah say? That you're the one that tells us the truth, right? I described that was the core idea. It's like Cheskes Aguf, so other Chazakas will fall away anyway. I have to remind you, I'll give you just a idea. You should know the famous Rashi in Ksubis Ayin Beis. Rashi says, the Moshe, there's a suffix. A guy claims that the wife he married, she was a balas mum and it's a mekachtos. And she says, no, the mum happened later. So on one hand, he has a cheskes mammon. And a mitzvah chaver al she wants her ksuba. So Rashi says, well, since he has a cheskes mammon, therefore we should say that the mum happened earlier. So Cheskes mum is not just a way of defending my money. You can't take what I write. It's a chazak, and therefore the reality was that you don't have to pay. Because if the mum were earlier, you don't have to pay. It's a mekachtos. If the mum came later, you would have to pay. Cheskes mum is not just a way of keeping your money. It's also a proper chazak, an indirect way of telling us what happened. That's a Rashi. Should I read it to you? Yeah, I ain't ham at the base. Tiver Masu loy Tamer of Yeshua. Feel of a makim she'en cheskes medis negdol akhisha. The cheskes moment is makhish her that she said the moment happened afterwards, and the his cheskes moment is makhish her taina. Cheskes moment not makhish anything. He only says cheskes moment. You know what I'm saying? It's my money. You can't move it without a riot. Your taina is not a riot. He says no. Cheskes moment is makhish your story. First Rashi, she'en cheskes haguf emeres negdo lahakhisha. She'en cheskes mammon, excuse me, emeres negdo lahakhisha. So first Rashi, remember that. It's a very important Rashi. So this is what's happening here, okay? This is the shaila on the table. So it comes to the point is that Rashi agrees everything with in Rashbam. The machlekes of Yud and Rabban is one simple machlekes. Whether we're being by the shorish hametzias like a cheskes haguf, or we're just going to be mevara the so to speak, the halachic status, as we explained. That was the machlekes of Rav and Ravasi, as we explained that too. Okay, we did quite a trip over there. Okay, it was actually good. I rewrote it yesterday. It's not very good. Okay. Afterwards, I looked up. No one discusses that whole shakla v'taya. None of the Rishonim discuss that shakla v'taya. So it's really nice to have. Okay, in Kedushin that we learned yesterday when we dino lach. Okay. Okay, at the end of the day, so that's what we have. If that's the case, Rashi, only what does the word lacher mean? That's all. Rav Blachman understands lacher means objective realities. That's only Rabbi Yehuda. No, Rashi understands lacher means to tell Bezdin that we can paskin with it. Okay, very nice. Now what? Now what's nafkamina? Is it just for chukas mishpat equals Rabbanan, or why? Because it's only a subjective idea in the relationship of Meirish and Yorish, or no? We know the story. Well, to say you know the story, that means you're talking to him as a Moilid versus a Vlad, not a Moirish versus a Yerush. Where's the nafkamina? And that's what I finished with it. According to Rabbi Yehuda, what should it then be? You have to be Muzik as a father. And if you're not Muzik as a father, there's no Yaka. And that's how we pass in Ladina, according to Rashbam and the Taisus, because the halachas of Rabbi Yehuda. Masha'enkin, if we're going to deal with the halacha, so to speak, of just as far as Yerusha is concerned, the nafkamina would be as far as Rabbanan is concerned. There's clearly nothing more than a yachis of Meirish and Yerush. So all you need is muzik the Balamama. You don't need muzik lika'av. There's going to be a nafkamina. We who pass on Rebuta, do we also have the yakir of Rabbanan? Are the two yakirs? L'chayra not, because l'chayra eno chenami. I won't have that. Would it be in a case where you're not muzikav? And nochasim shenaflu kushu goishes, according to Rebuta. Are you Meirish or not? You're not muzikav. If you're muzikav, what's the problem? But if you're not muzikav, as nechasim shenaflu shu goishes, therefore there's no migu that you could have given it to him. What's going to be a din? According to Rabbanan, that's the pasuk of Yakir. That afal pikin, you believed in Meirish and Yerush. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, I don't have such a halacha. I only have a din that you believe that you're an av, but that only works if you're muzika av. So the chasim shenaflu shu goishes, what's going to be the halacha? Sorry, you're not going to get it. But let me show you in the Muki Yosef. Why is this amusing? What? Well, let's read what he says, and you tell me what it means. Zot Muki Yosef, page Kufnun Gimel in Ois V'Hadar. After he brings the din of a Rabbanan, of Nechasim Shenaflu Shu Gaisus, he says words which l'chayra make no sense. L'chayra. But once you have glasses, this is beautiful, right? You have to take off your glasses, right? Good thing that I can give you mine. It'll help. Omar Mechaber, it's very nice language. Okay, Kufnan Gimel Ois V'Hadar, the right column. Omar HaMechaber. Hashta de Kaimel Rav Yehuda, Loi Kaimel and Hai Drasha de Rabbanan, the Yakir, even Drasha, the Yakir, even for Yerusha, Kishu Gaisus. That's the context. You have to read the piece before, okay? Hilkach, Bechor ein enaitel pishnai benechasim shenafel like Shu Gaisus. Now, which Bechor? Obviously, if he's Muslim like Av is a proper Yakir, what's the difference? Your problem with Nafel Shu Gaisus was a problem because you thought the Namanis, what would the Gemara say? You need the pasuk for Gaisus, because without Gaisus, you have a migu, you don't need a pasuk. That's the Gemara here. And the Gemara also with the Pshita and Daf Kuf Lamed over there. That's another pasuk. So the only reason you need the pasuk of Yakir is in the case where there's no migu. What's the case where there's no migu? Don't think about Naflu Shu Gaisus. What's the Chedesh? That there is an Nemanis, a subjective Nemanis of Yerush and Meirish, which is enough for Yerusha. That's all. This is a Chiddush only of Rabbana. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't have this. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't have a subjective Nemanis. What does he have? He has an objective Nemanis. So I don't understand if he's an objective Nemanis. Why isn't he believed by Nechasim Shenaflu Shu Gaisus? And what does the Rashbam Muki says? He won't be believed. Look at him. But why doesn't he take Yerusha? Obviously, the only thing is because no Yakir exists. No Yakir exists. If no Yakir exists, why? Because it's not Muslim Lekav. Once he's not Muslim Lekav, no Yakir exists. When no Yakir exists, but if that would be the case, he's not going to get Chayra. But now the question on the table is, why is he going to get Pashtus? The teretz is, what do you do with that? Why are you going to get pashut? If it's naflashu geisis and you can't be mocked, then why did the Mukiyeh says you contribute, he won't get bechor, but he'll get pashut? Why would he get pashut? If he's not Muslim like Ka'av, why would he get pashut? It's a tzarchi on this Mukiyeh. I'm hoping to see what. That's not what it says here. Okay, could be, maybe, possibility. We'll talk about it, but it doesn't mention that here. Okay, he mentions as far as the other things. It's the mitzvah on ksubas. Well, that's as far as yeah. Okay, that could be okay, but that's the what it says here. He doesn't mention that here. He said that he's got midin Yerusha zachabe. He gets a midin Yerusha. Obviously, he's believed to say zebni, and yet he's not going to get it and didn't pchor. So we have to understand what it means. Whatever it is, it's another pasha to the what. So one piece I don't have yet clarity. At least not enough to talk about over here. But one piece is clear that he's saying there's a chetimtza, which according to Rabbi Yehuda, since you don't have the drush of the Rabbanon, you will not be noitel b'chor by nafel or shuru geishes. What's the chetimtza? The only chetimtza, there is only one chetimtza, not muzlik like Ibnai. Not Muslim like Kibnais. If that's the case, you don't have the Yakir of Rabbi Yehuda. And if you don't paskin that there's also the Yakir of Rabbanon, it's not there. Because according to Yehuda, I never learned they didn't have Yakir, which tells me that you can be massively just for the Yerusha. I don't have that. That's the chayr what it says in this Mukiyeh. Why do I say this? Because the Mirchum we're going to be learning Dasa Rambam, and you'll see the Rambam passes to two things in Yakir. He believes there's a subjective Yakir and believes there's an objective Yakir. And there's not communist halacha that for the objective yakir you have to be ein echnami murzak. For the subjective yakir, it's enough just to be a balamam. Go through the Piskei halachas and Hilchos Nachlas, and you'll see it. It's really interesting to see that the Rambam actually believes there's two, and it's up to you to figure out what's the source of these two yakirs. According to Rabbana, I will read that with you, but first I want to finish the sugya inside here. But this is the chayr, what's coming out of these things. Or is that? What does it come out to? We started with something. So yeah. So was kumtais. That what was the question we started with? I mentioned. Right. Oh yeah, right. Okay. It comes out something very simple. It comes out this is both Rashi and the Rashbam and Tosfos seem to be agreeing that this is the Rashi and Rashbam. What about Tosfos? Let's start with this. What is Shitas at Tosfos in this machlekes of Yehuda and Rabban? About what? Rabbi Yehuda seems to be saying that there is an instance where, according to Rabbanan, the child will take Pishnayim, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, he will not take. Now, why? Because Rabbanan have a pasuk for it. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't have a pasuk for it. What's the instance? If it's a case where he's Musik Leishu B'nai, so then of course he's going to take according to Rabbi Yehuda Pishnayim. And of course, according to Rabbanan, you'll take Pishnayim. What is the case where Rabbana you will take Bishnayim, but contributor you will not take Shishnayim because the din of Rebuta does not apply, and only leave it to Rabbana it does apply. So there's got to be a case where according to Rabbana they will use their pasuk. Rebuta doesn't have their pasuk, and his pasuk demands something which doesn't exist. What is that? Murzuk leishu av. If there's a chazaka that you're the father, so the Rebuta's pasuk applies. If it's not Musik as a father, your Rebuta's pasuk doesn't apply. According to Rabbana, no, don't have to. That's exactly how we learned Rebuta and Rabbana according to Rashi and according to Rashbam. If it's just a subjective relation between Moirish and Yoresh, we only have to know that you own the money. If it's it's an objective relation between a Moilid and a Yelud, so I have to know that it exists. If you're murzik as the Moilid to this Yelud, you will define what kind of Yeleda this was, okay? What kind of Haylada this was. But if it's just a question of who's my Yerush, I'm the Balamam, and I'll decide who my Yerush is. It's Biyadi, right? And I'm believed to say who my Yerush is. So the only nafkamina would be in a case where no murzik like Shu Yerush, and we pointed out that Das Rashbam and Tosfos is clear as day that without murzik like Shu Yerush, the din of Yakir doesn't apply. That's what Rashbam wrote in Kuflam Daldam at base. We asked the question, Kuf Chav Zayin is like an often a Gemara, not that way. So here I'm going to do something which I don't usually do. Who's the Baal HaMemra in Kuf Chav Zayin Amud Beis? Sometimes when you're between a hard place and a rock, you go back to those ways of doing things. Who's the Baal HaMemra in Kuf Chav Zayin Amud Beis? Just tell me. Louder. Rabbi Yochanan. Does Rabbi Yochanan paskin like Rabbanan, or does Rabbi Yochanan paskin like Rabbi Yehuda? Yeah, what has he paskin? Kuf Chav Ches Amud Beis. The portion of the Gemara, what does it say? So this is a member which goes and understands the Akel, Liba de Rabbana. Liba de Rabbana, I don't need to be Muzik Leishuav. So it makes tons of sense. Mashenkin la'alacha, the sugya la'alacha is like la'alacha we pass in Rabbi Yehuda. So it's a b'yisa b'kutra, the stomach, the sugya, and kuf lamedal goes la'alacha, which means that we need muzik le'shuav. I got no problems. Adrabah, it's beautiful to see how Rashbam writes here, yakir dafka libed rabban. It's like that's the cherry on the cake. See, that's actually nice. Okay, that's a shayna zach. Okay, so the question doesn't begin. There must be nicer way. This is a shtick of, things like this here. Rav Blachman used to do. Rav Chaim's father-in-law, he has a whole sefer on l'shitosos. That's his whole mouth, l'shitos. The only one I know that ever did that in my lifetime is Nady Finkel, Rashiv of Mizrael Levracha. He used to do this. They used to laugh. Says, "Come on, you're like ancient. Who does this anymore?" He used to do these type of things. All the shurim were like the l'shitosos. It used to be very popular. It doesn't happen anymore. Before his whole sefer is like Torah Sefal. It's called. It's a great book. I'll tell you the honest truth. For a bacher, it's a tremendous read. It's a Chavos Adas. You have to know Shas to play the game. Okay, he knew his place. Okay, this is the Netziv's son-in-law. Okay, Reb Chaim Brisker's father-in-law. They didn't have too much in common. I can tell you right now. You can just look at the books and see, I don't know, they probably never spoke, okay? Or definitely not in learning, because then Reb Chaim would have to be a big tzaddik, okay? Well, he was, but it would be impossible. But it's beautiful, I'm telling you, it's a beautiful book. So this is I don't do this, I don't do this. Embrera. There must be a better way than this. I'm saying myself, I'm telling the honest truth. This I'm saying, because this is an easy way, it's simple. There must be something better than this. There has to be something better than this. This episode is Balabatish.
What's the concern in being Balabatish?
Nothing. It smells truth. I wish I could find something more crispy. There must be some intelligent truth too. I don't know. I'm saying it because I think it's the truth. Yeah, it's the Balabatish truth, but you know what I mean? And you're right. I'm Baltaiva. What do you want from me? On Taiva, you don't ask questions, okay? Leave it to me. I remember there's no Sameach on this. I haven't looked it up. I'm sure the Sameach doesn't say this. Okay? I'm sure he does something beautiful. Okay, and then I'll look at it and say, yeah, but the emes is what I said before anyway. But there's got to be something beautiful here. You understand? It's chaserli. You don't understand what I mean. Okay, there's truth. And what happens to the taiva of the taiva? There are many creative thinkers which can see so many different things here, and then you'll say, yeah, but it's not muchach because the truth is this. But I want also that. I want to be able to see that, feel that, and then no, it's not true.
Why?
Why? Because I want to appreciate the truth after doing all that. I'm not doing it out of default because I'm an idiot and can't think. Therefore, I'm left with saying a davar pashut. I want to be able to say, yeah, out to them is aber sinishtazai. You know what I mean? That's why I learned Chedush Reb Chaim al Rambam. Okay. That's why I learned the book. Okay, weiter. Okay, so that's the chayre. That's as far as that sheet is concerned. To reverse Shitas Rashi and Shitas Rashbam, and I think we've come to a nice summation. Now let's go to Shitas at Taisvis. Okay, so Shitas at Taisvis is something really very interesting. Let's start with Kuf Chav Zayin Amid Beis. In Kuf Chav Zayin Amid Beis, Taisvis starts and says, Kach Neman Leimer Zeben Grusha Ben Chlutza. Tema, this is a puzzling thing. Lefi Sheneman Levaker Ye Neman Gam Lifso. The language gives me the hives. He doesn't say because he's neman on Mammon, he should be neman on Yichus. He says the fish neman levake and neman levsol. Now, what does this mean? I'm going to show you what it really means. Okay, in Taisus and Kedushin says his words very clearly. Taisus and Kedushin, if you did the parallel so just because you followed the Brises, so mainly you would have seen this. If you didn't, or you did a sloppy job, what can one do? So don't mimic me halfway. If you're gonna do it right. Okay, you know what I mean? Trying to say something here, you know. You have to do it right. So what steht in Taisus? Ein Dal. This is where the Bryce is. Look at this Taisus. This is such a poetic Taisus. It sounds straight out of a Pirkei shir or something like that. Those Taisus say, "Vim timer." Now listen carefully to the cutting edge, decisive, intelligent differentiation that Taisus makes. He's doing something nice, and we understand there's a svara. God wants him to be able to do something nice for his kid. You know, like a happy birthday present. Here, you're a Hashem. They king, he's giving presents, Mr. Claus. Is he talking about dinei ne'emanus? There's a psalacha lahetiv v'lahara v'lahetiv. That's a din by shvua. Okay, lahara v'lahetiv. What's he talking about? You know, I understand that God gives you the possibility of giving presents to your children, but to knock them around with to say they're illegitimate, why would we give you the right? What? Why? You're doing bad things to him. You're abusive. Why would God give you the power of abuse? You should only have the power of doing good. Doesn't this sound like maybe you should be Rachmav al Kol Maisav, you know, like teddy bear Judaism? What the humph is he saying? And don't be stupid. This is what our Taisus means, right? When our Taisus says it's the Vaker versus the Poisloi. Now take the context. The Poisloi means doing something bad, and the Vaker means doing something good. Because let's understand, at the level of Edus, they are the same thing. There's no qualitative difference between the ne'emanus needed for Yerusha and the ne'emanus needed for Yichus. We learned this a million times. The Sifri in Dvarim Yutes, when it says there, means what? Ashayechta means divrei mamon. We saw that. The Babylons, Erva from Davar mean mamon. And how do we know that Davar means mamon? For Ashayechta. Davar also means Alis Yuchsin. Davar means a lot of things. If everyone only knows Davar means mamon, doesn't read the Drasha one pasuk before. Okay, you have to read Pasuk Tezvav. They all know Pasuk Tezayin, but the Tezayin of Pishaim Yakum Davar, what does the word Davar entail? That goes to Pasuk Tezvav. And there the Sifri explains it also includes Ben Grusha, Ben Chlutza. And obviously, all the Rishonim say, if you believe in Ben Grusha, Ben Chlutza, same thing as Mamzer. But yeah, Ben Grusha, Ben Chlutza is a big Chiddush, as we pointed out. The mother herself, it's enough to be in Eid Echad. Remember, we learned that last time. Okay, but the child is already is a genetic issue. See, the mother is not a genetic issue. It's not a yichus halacha. She's possible. The child is already a genetic issue. He's not, now it's hereditary. A chalo, ben chalo, ben chalo. You're done. You're a chalo. This goes on. So it's a yichus mishpacha. For that, you need two witnesses. Yichus mishpacha and mamzerus. They need to witness to say, you're a Zaina. So you're fine. You had a bad vocation. So I have to tell you about your vocation. For that, an echad is enough. That's an issue. But to define your yichus, that's called davar. It's up in the drush. It's not the, I say this because once you learn Makis and Yitzhashem, The Ksais and the Sibis all ask the question, why is there a din kasher zone ben gushim and chutza? L'chayr it's isurim, and the edachad is enough. So in the Sibis answers, we're talking about huzak isura, so male you need two, and then the Ksais says no, that can't be because even huzak isura, it's not a din of edus, it's just a look of two yichidim. So the ganze Stück Torah between the Ksais and the Sibis and the Meshoviv and the Madura Bash and the Sibis, oh, ganze Stück Torah. Okay, here's why I say, yeah, it's all nice, but it's a mefurish to free. See? That's what I love doing after. First, I want to read that. Very nice, very nice. Sifri. Okay. It's a different reality when you have it that way. Okay. It's like, you know what I mean? It's okay. That's what you have here. So it's another pashit. That's why it's a smart pshuta. When it comes to dini edus, there's a lot. The reason to say if you're believed to verify an uvda as far as this halacha is concerned, you're believed to verify the uvda as far as that halacha. That's another pashit. So in hilchas edus, there wouldn't be a question. And he doesn't ask that. He doesn't ask because this is a din of psul and this is a din of mama. He doesn't ask that at all. He asks, "This is you're being nasty, you're being abusive, you're being nice." What kind of svara is this? Is this a svara in Nemanos? No way. This svara only makes sense if you're the power of the hachzik. So normally chazakas work with common norm, call it loy pasuk, etc. The Torah gave you the right to do it. Why do you think because the Torah gave you the right to do it explicitly in the Chumash is talking about Yerusha? We would say the Torah gave you the right to be the machzik, the soul machzik when it comes to doing good. How do I know that Torah would give you that also to do nasty things? I don't know that. I don't. Do I understand that Rashbam doesn't think that's much of a question? Yes. When the Rashbam says Farhu, yeah, I can understand why not. He didn't go to Musa Seder that much. But I can understand why certain Rishonim would have that sensitivity. This is the type of question which really depends on the personality. You realize that, okay? Like if you'd say that to me and share a question like that, it wouldn't do too well. But if you'd go some other place, they'd say, yeah, you should learn Madregas Adam. I don't know what, you know what I mean? It depends, really. This depends on the personality of the person. I'm not looking for lumdus on this type of machlokes, okay? The Balataisa see this as a problem. The Rashbam says, Svarahu. I count the Litvak, you know what I mean? Do me a favor, don't bother me. Okay, so there's nothing more than that there. Okay, so this is what I have. This is what the Taisa is asking. Well, if they're asking that, it's clear they also took for granted that this is not in their monas yakir, not even in their monas to be marzik. It's simply a halacha that what you say is marzik. So we rewarded you to become the sole source, the major source of chazaka. Who says we awarded to you to do bad? Maybe we awarded you to do good. I'm not making up the svara, the spali ataisa. That's the question on the table. So notice he does agree. Now here's something very interesting. In other words, the Rashbam accepts it's a din of chazaka. Therefore, he says, if that's the case, you don't need psukim, svaro. And he's saying, no, you're right. It is a din of chazaka. You know, I'm trying to point something. He's not arguing with that idea with the Rashbam. It's an idea of chazaka. But yet, to say it's a svara is not a davar pasha because it's possible to say there's limitations to this reward to allowing you to be masik. Lahara, not lahetiv, yes. This is the lashon of the Taisus and Ksubasai and Dalit. And which is probably, most logically, it's the same as some of the Taisus. There's no reason to say it's different because it's the same Taisus with the same answers. Okay, let's take that. That's number one. So notice I'm taking for granted the Bala Taisus also understand that it's a luck of lahachzik. Now let's go to the next piece of Taisus, the teretz of Taisus. V'yesh Shleimer, what does Taisus answer? Kivan sheneman levake b'chalinyan equals. It doesn't say limitations. That's interesting. If you're willing to make a sword to be machalik, maybe it is even in that case, such a case. Maybe it's not in this case. If you have a svara to say that if you want to limit, there's no. What kind of svara is the question? The question is, if the Torah was megalit, don't take it for more than what has to be done. The scriptures are talking where you're doing something good. So then how do you know that the scriptures will also include when you're doing something bad? Okay, now if that's the case, if you think that there's a certain reason to limit the scriptures to only stories which are fluffy and beautiful, so then why on God's earth are you saying that the story is a case where you're going to make your elder brother illegitimate? So for the same reason that you need a pasuk, and therefore you're going to be limiting what the pasuk says. So maybe that's why all of a sudden are you reading the pasuk broader? That's the reason to read the pasuk mitzumtzum. I'll explain my question. This is not a legal svara of this lahara lahativ. Let's be honest. It's some kind of a moral thinking, which says because of this moral thinking, we should limit what we know from the pasuk. The pasuk says yakirenu yakir, which means yakirenu la'acherim, and we're going to say, listen, the pasuk can be read broadly, which will mean even to damage people, ben grusha ben chlutza, not in context of Yerusha, just to say, hey, my son is a bastard, or is it ben grusha ben chlutza? That's actually a machlokes. If you believe, say your son's a bastard, he's not your son. Big machlokes are. Are you believed to say your son is not your son? Okay. So Rav Blachman thinks you are. Tosfos Reed Mamish says it's impossible. Okay, Rashi seems to agree with it. By the way, Rashi and Ksubas, we'll get there. But at the end of the day, so that's the reason. So this is a svara of limiting the source. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not as for there's a reason to say lahativ and not lahora. No, the makar is a pasuk. So read the pasuk lahativ. Don't read the pasuk lahora. That's what it means. It's a much more of a story of explaining a way of reading than independent logic. Moral considerations are not legal arguments. At the best they are, there's a reason, like the Docher Noyim type of svara, is a reason to read the pasuk in a certain way. Like the dinim of Docher Noyim, when well, you're not going to be learning Yavam, it's psachim. Lucky kids. Walking with a migraine for 6 months. We learned this once. For example, the halacha that an esrog is not a prickly pear. What do we know? Because the pasuk says Docher Dachinoim. So it's din Docher. It's like how is din go like this? No. Docher Dachinoim is the way we understand the value systems of the Torah. Therefore, interpret the pasuk in a way which you won't get your fingers full of thorns during Sukkot. There's no din of Docher Dachinoim. It's like being normal. It's like the Torah is nice. So don't think the Torah is going to abuse you by taking one of these sabra pears and you have to hold them tight during until it's moving. That God doesn't do that to people. I mean, he does punish us, but he doesn't just inflict things for pleasure. He's not sadistic, right? The same thing here. The horror of this, the horror. What is this? Let's be honest. Let's think for 2 minutes what this is. It's a consideration. Listen, why would you give what the Torah is saying something and empowering to do something? Why don't you limit it to doing good? You're extending it because of legal logic to include also doing bad. Make it easy to extend it. Keep it limited. That's the chayra, the svara. I haven't found any other svara, as much as I know the system, that we look at, is it good or bad? Except I repeat, by shvua. But this got nothing to do with it. There it doesn't mean good or bad. That means to refrain or to do. That's what it means over there. Okay? Here's something totally different. So I haven't found this anywhere.
Don't we find by Naman Yisurin?
By what?
That there are Rishonim that hold Irach Naman Yisurin is backed up from the Makir, not Lesar.
That's a Tosfos which says there's a Havamina and disagrees. No. Not by Yisrael, but Dov Shabbat Erva. Yeah, Tosfos Yivamis. Yeah, when you figure that one out, you let me know. You heard that one from me, probably when you were doing Gittin. You didn't learn Isha Rabbah. You learned Isha Rabbah?
No, I learned Gittin other things.
Okay, no, you didn't. Right. Okay. So at the end of the day, I'm asking a simple question, okay? Why don't that same svara limit the reading of this pasuk? And say the pasuk's not talking about that. Let me ask a bigger question. Now, nearly the pasuk says that's true. So what's it saying according to Tosfos? You actually believe to say your son is not a son. How's that possible? If Yaakov is based on a relationship between a muksik lishu av, why you believe to say that you're not the av? Bishlam, if you're an Av, so you're Chazaka as an Av, it makes a bigger Chazaka than other Chazakas. If your Muzik is a Mailid, what gives you now the right to say you're not? Why would you be better than a Muzik that he is? Bishlam, when there are other Chazakas that say that he is supposed to be, he's the B'chor, and your belief to say he's not the B'chor. Very nice. What's the problem? I'm Muzikli Shubni, and I'm going to say he's not the B'chor. But to say why, why is that word? Because the Ikar Chazaka of Yakir is with the father. That's like the Chesed Guf, rather other Chazakas, as we described already a few times. But here the opposite is true. What's happening? When I come and I say this kid, which is musically is my son, he's not my son at all. He belongs to somebody else. Why would you believe against a Chazaka, even a contributor? What's the shot in them? That's a kasha that Taisus read again. The Sefer HaMachriya. Simon Samach Beis. You have to look it up in your. I can actually give it to you. Yeah, it's Samach. No, Samach Dal. Yeah, Samach Gimel. Samach Dal. Samach Dal. Here, you'll take it afterwards. Okay. How can you be believed? And he says you are. What's the lumdus? Why are you believed? B, if you're believed, how do you know this? Why, maybe Paul Gideon Nemanis. Maybe you're believed even when you make the other guy the bastard. You're only believed as far as Yerusha is concerned. How do you know you're believed also as far as making the other guy a mamzer? We learned these sugyas, man. Why are we doing a good old-fashioned palginon here? You all learned these sugyas. Anybody learned Sanhedrin in this room? Ksubis, Sanhedrin. Someone learned something here? Well, Makos, palginon, famous words, famous last words. Why don't we use palginon? Why is it so pashut that if you believe, yeah, that's a story. So what? How do you know you believe for that? Questions? I think I have to let you until next time. Okay? No, I will not be able to say shir on Wednesday. I won't. So I want to say, I want to finish this on Thursday. So I want to say 2 shir on Thursday. Arya, can you wake up early in the morning?
You have it on Tuesday instead of Tuesday night. Tuesday.
Oh, we can do Tuesday instead of Machshava. Yeah. Now the question is that moral, ethical to do. I don't mind, but I have a Litvish side to me which says, yeah, why not? On the other hand, I have nachrayis for the Olam Haba of people, right? Because they're not going to remember what I teach in Gemara. Maybe they'll learn what not to say and what to do, but they won't remember. When I learned Divrei Emes of the Rishonim, then they forms their religious lives for further. I'll think about it. Yeah, maybe we'll see. So either tomorrow we'll do this or we'll do the other stuff. I have a drop in numbers here. God, what happened today? I guess everyone's starting day camp or something like that. Okay. Arya, you're at Tzaddik and Zdom. Even Chaim cocked out. He's finished. Okay. Bye. Avram, Zayge Bench, Shri Matzliach. Kol Tuv, Bracha Vatzlacha. See you guys.
Thursday. Till Sunday.
Sunday? Okay, so I'll see you on Thursday.
I mean, not, yeah, till Thursday. Okay.
Be Vatzlacha Rabba.
Thank you. Amen.